Welcome back, guys. On this episode of Inspiration Nation, we are going to be cutting the OBS chassis. The short bed chassis front end was just completely foobarred. It has been in a collision before, and not only do we have rust in the front, but there's also some pretty substantial front end damage on the chassis itself. Simply drawing it out, we've got the short bed chassis here, and the biggest difference is where the lengths are. This would be your rear cab mount, this is your front cab mount. And this is the long bed chassis. You got your front cab mount and your rear cab mount. We're going to measure 32 inches from the back of the front cab support or cab mount. We're going to come back 32 inches and we're going to scribe a line straight up, right? Then we're going to come 3 1/4 because the chassis from top to bottom is 6 1/2 inches. We're going to come 3 1/4 up, and then I'm going to go back 6 inches and then 3 1/4 up, basically like a little key lock. Then we're going to put some plate on top and plate on bottom to make sure everything's square, level everything really good, tack it, weld it together, and then we're going to put some big, I call them gusset plates, but evidently in the fabricating world they're called fish plates, but we're going to plate it on the inside so that it's stronger than it was factory. But that's the plan. This is how we're going to mark it, and this is how we're going to cut it, and this is how we're going to do it. Now, with all this being said, this is my truck. I feel this is the best way to go about it with what I've got going now. If you have the option to just find another chassis, I'd probably recommend finding another chassis. But your boy likes to ball on a budget, and I'm very impatient, and I'm ready to get it done now because we only have a few months until the C10 Fall Revival, and that's where I want to drive this truck to. Never built a truck for myself before, and I'm kind of excited. This is the short bed chassis, and we're going to start with measuring from the back of the chassis, or the cab mount here. I'm going to scribe a little line. Now I'm going to take my trusty dusty speed square. It's going to be this little guy right here, and we're going to do another little scribe line. Now that we've got everything marked, it's time to reinforce the short bed chassis. We're going to take a piece of 1 inch by 1 inch square tubing and weld it so that the rear frame don't pop in or anything. Well, I guess it's safe to say we're at the point of no return. All right, and that's when two trucks kind of become four to become one. So we got it cut. We're gonna get it moved in the shop and get everything mocked up, and that was nerve-wracking. We're making a short bed one way or another. That actually went a little easier than I thought. New day, new me, it's the next day, and I'm gonna start prepping to get it all cut and put together. On the back half of the chassis, I gotta cut here and remove this piece. And on the front half of the chassis, I gotta cut down and remove this piece, and they'll interlock together. I wanna address a few comments I've been getting. Why didn't I just shorten the long bed chassis instead of cutting both chassis and welding them together? The reason why I didn't just shorten the long bed chassis is very simple. This was way easier. You only had to make the one cut here. If I were to shorten the long bed chassis, right, this is the short bed, this rear cab mount on the long bed chassis would have to be moved way back in addition to shortening the frame. And this bed mount here is completely different than the one that's on the long bed because the long bed one is located further down on the arch, so it's taller. Okay, it is just way more work to shorten the long bed than it would be just to cut and section these two together. This was easier, faster, and way less work. Could you do it the other way? Possibly. It's just a lot more involved with moving the mounts and stuff. So this is what you get. And now this is the final rough cutting and everything. I'll have to still cut the other side, but I wanted to show you guys this is what we're looking at. So we got a 6.5 inch beam, and then we cut it 3 1/4 up and then 6 inches back. So that's like plenty of overlap, and then we'll gusset the back of it, but that's what we're looking like. A little bit more work and fit and finish before we weld. Alright, we're back. New day, new me kind of thing. I had to take a few days to step back and look at everything and make sure I'm not messing up, because once you weld this together, it's kind of there unless you want to cut it apart again, and I really don't want to do that. So let's see what we've got. So my measurement from the rear cab mount to the front cab mount is almost spot on. It's only showing about halfway between an eighth and a little over an eighth of an inch difference where it needs to come back, and that shows from where my initial cuts are. This needs to come back over here, and you can actually see how this cut wasn't exactly straight. So if I come in here and I'm gonna do a little marky line there, and I'm basically gonna trim that line out so that I can slide the chassis back. And then I'm going to X everything out again and make sure we're close. But when I was doing my measurements, it was looking like it just needed to come back. And it's showing, honestly, an eighth on all 4 corners, except for this little guy right here. And one reason I want to make sure I get it perfectly square is this is a Chevrolet. I can't have it looking like one of those 60 model Fords that always looks like the chassis is bent in the middle when the body lines don't line up. Got everything as close as I could possibly get it, considering that I measured from the suspension components to the cab mounts to the bed mounts. I've X'd it, I've diagonaled it, I've upside down measured it, and I've got everything within about 3/16. Now, the reason why I say within 3/16 is because apparently there is nothing that is 100% precise on the chassis to begin with. Even measuring the distance between front suspension components to factory front suspension components. Like, apparently they had a really lax tolerance day when they were building these trucks. But it's got to be way better than Fords, right? I'm just saying, and we don't even want to talk about how bad the Dodges are, right? Right. Tacked in the corners. I don't want to weld one side completely and then move to the other, because your heat could pull the chassis either way. Then I'm going to weld a little bit here, weld a little bit there, weld a little bit here, weld a little bit there. He's the one that got me into loving all this shit, so we're blaming it on him. Me and Papa B-Ray tore this bad boy down, and now we're gonna cruise this thing by the end of the summer. Ain't that right? Yep. Now that I've gotten everything ground and cleaned up and everything ground, I got it smoothed out and looking pretty. Now I'm gonna make a paper template for the inside plating of the chassis, and I'm just gonna use some masking paper for the, I will say, it's better to use cardboard than it is paper, but I didn't have any cardboard I wanted to sacrifice right now, and paper works just fine. It's just kind of a pain in the butt to work with. Now I'm going to transfer it over to some metal and get it all welded in on the inside. Now I'm still going to have to do the diamond shape, either whatever you want to call them, fish plates, gusset plates, whatever. I got to put them on the outside. I was going to do them on the inside, but at the end of the day, if I plate the outside and I fish plate the inside, I don't really care if anybody looks underneath the truck and's like, hey, that's been cut or shortened. I don't care. You already know if you've watched the YouTube videos. And boom, just like that, little trip to the plasma cutter. It looks pretty good. It's good enough there. I can weld to it, make it look really good, and then grind it and round it out smooth. Safety first. And I'm holding my breath. We got everything welded up. It looks pretty good. I live and die by the philosophy of try your best and grind the rest. I hate having things unplugged. So I slid over to Papa B-Ray's and I stole his bigger welder. And I've got both inside plates welded in. Super good penetration. A lot of penetration. I'm going to shoot them with some weld-through primer. Got this big old diamond plate on here. This is probably way overkill for what we got going on here, but who really knows what the future of the truck will be? The chassis is successfully cut and clipped, or whatever you want to call it. We have a short bed chassis. And there you have it, guys. We have successfully clipped the front half of the chassis. It is we're a little behind schedule, but we have a good short bed chassis. Now on the next episode, I'm going to do some pressure washing and get probably the flip kit and C-notch done in the rear. And then we can do cleanup and put some chassis paint on here. And then we set the cab. Make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Follow the build. We do have t-shirts and stuff if you want to jump over to our merch links in the description of this video. We'd appreciate it. But with that being said, we will see you on the next one. That's all, folks.